Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. What could be more chilling than the realization you live in a haunted house? Here are the experiences of two Weird World viewers who have had to deal with the frightening phenomena. Jenna lives in Upper Baltimore County. She and her husband moved into their older style home with their 2-year-old daughter when Jenna was pregnant with their son. The first strange thing that happened to her was when she set out the things she needed for her hospital stay in an extra bathroom. She set out her brush, toothbrush, small towel, extra hair clips, and a carry bag, all ready to go. However, when it came time to leave, all the objects were gone, completely gone. No one ever used that bathroom, and Jenna's daughter could not reach the sink. They just shrugged off this strange occurrence until the next scary event. This was when her then 3-year-old was playing in her room next to the living room where Jenna was with her baby son. The little girl came out and said that her toys were moving on their own. On another occasion, she came out of her room and said, "Sally says I am playing the game wrong." Thinking that perhaps her daughter had a make-believe friend, Jenna told her to tell Sally that there are many ways to play games. Her daughter continued to talk about Sally every now and then, but the contacts always took place in her room. Then, at the age of 4, her daughter told Jenna that Sally wanted to be born. This did freak out Jenna, who by this point had had other odd things happening to her, such as things going missing and a feeling of being watched. She told her husband about the goings-on, and he put it down to imagination on both of their parts. He's a rational person, having had a science and maths-based education. However, a few months later, he went to the ensuite in their room at around 4 in the morning and was terrified to see Jenna's makeup bag on the shelf lift up, move away from the shelf, and be thrown across the room to hit the bathroom door. He was then so freaked out, he very quickly left the bathroom and jumped back into bed, and the next day he told Jenna, "We have a problem." In the meantime, Jenna and her daughter were hearing a little girl's voice, crying, "Mommy," giggling, and playing with the toys in her room. They could feel something getting onto the bed with them, literally hopping onto the bed like a child would do on a number of occasions. Jenna experienced being scratched and pushed off her bed, and the apparition of a little girl was seen by her husband passing through walls. The family's 2 dogs and 2 cats would be hissing and growling at some unseen thing, and objects would move untouched by them or the animals. On one occasion, Jenna was letting the dogs out at 4 a.m. and felt an exhalation of hot breath on her neck, which was terrifying. While she was toilet training her son, never an easy thing, he told her that he could not use the bathroom because the spooky little girl was standing right beside her. Years went by as the family began to accept that they lived in a haunted house and alongside a ghost. However, no one believed them. When Jenna had a serious health diagnosis, the spirit became more vocal, with a voice on a Dora toy saying, "I love you, Mummy," over and over. The toy was not programmed to do this, and the voice was not a recording done by her own kids. It was clear that the little girl was contacting the family, who were by now feeling quite unnerved. 2 of their family members were now also convinced that the house was haunted. Jenna's brother has had multiple experiences, once hearing a disembodied male voice say, "Master B," and the little girl talking, although he could never make out what she was saying. He also heard dishes clanking in the cabinet for no reason. Jenna's male cousin, who was a pure skeptic, became a believer and now will never stay at her house again after his experience. Once when he stayed, he heard a child crying all night, and in the morning he realised that Jenna's kids had slept all night through. The feeling in the house was so strange, they eventually sought out help from several paranormal groups, but still got no answers. This included cleansing prayers by a Buddhist Thai monk and other Buddhist practitioners, which resulted in the toy that had been the method of the ghost communication talking on its own. The East Coast Paranormal Society did a detailed historical bio of the family's land and area. The land had been owned by the Clapp family in the late 18th and 19th century and used as a cattle farm, with the house in the back of their current house. The family had 6 children and lost 4 of them. A little girl was amongst the dead and possibly in a grave less than 3 blocks away. The group heard a voice on the Dora toy when they asked a question about the toy. The voice said, "That's mine." The group also recorded a man whistling. Jenna was once shocked by an apparition of a man's lower half of his body. He had brown pants up to his mid-calf, and the rest of him was not visible. She found out that the area was also supposedly part of the underground. Jenna's kids are now teenagers, and the family have done major renovations to the house, where the haunting still persists. Shadows still appear and float through the walls, and things go missing and reappear in other areas of the house. Her brother, when he stays to take care of their dogs and cats, still hears weird voices and sees things moving. Jenna considers herself a rational person and is now a believer in the ghost world. She now gives gifts to the little girl, like candy on holidays, and feels sad that she is stuck here. But she and the unknown man are now part of her family. Mia. In 1982, Mia and her 2 then small children moved into a cottage in Berry Street, Guildford, a suburb of Sydney, Australia, for a very reasonable rent. The cottage was over 100 years old and was reportedly the stockman's cottage from the former station there. Mia has a First Nations friend who told her that every year an Aboriginal woman would come and burn things on the front lawn because her ancestor had been murdered there. Mia did something which she says she will never do again and has not since. She held a séance with her friend using a cup. The ghost who communicated told them he was hanged for stealing horses in the backyard of the house, a crime he said he did not commit. Out of nowhere, her friend looked behind Mia as her back was facing the corridor and said she saw him standing there. They had a can of beer on the table which started spinning all by itself all over the table. That's when the séance ended, and Mia turned the cup over to see the imprint of an Aboriginal man and horse engraved near the top. Her friend kept the cup, but after that, every night at 10 p.m, there would be banging on the front door and heavy footsteps in the house that would last about 5 minutes, making her children scream in terror. Mia asked the neighbours if there are any ghost stories associated with the house, and they confirmed the story about the Aboriginal man and the accusations of horse stealing which had happened when the house was a stockman's cottage. Other strange things happened in the house. One night there was a loud banging on the back door. Mia answered the door, but there was no one there, and the next morning she received the news that a friend of hers had died at about that time in an accident. On another occasion, she had an afternoon nap in the front bedroom. Her ex-husband had turned up with his mate, and they were staying for a couple of days. She woke up to feel someone pushing the mattress from under the bed. So naturally, she thought it was her ex, being the practical joker that he was, doing it to frighten her. She called out to his mate, who came, and she told him to tell her ex to get out from under the bed. His mate called her ex, who walked up the hallway and stood next to him, and Mia looked under the bed to find no one there. Enough was enough. She moved out, never to return. Although in one last incident, she took a photo of her ex's friend drinking, which showed a skull in a silver light on top of his head. The friend died of liver cancer caused by alcohol just a few years after that.